Today we're going to be jumping on with Chris Messer. He's our former Garmin rep. He's an avid bird hunter. He actually moved back to Iowa. And so we're going to jump on a Zoom call. We're going to ask him some questions. We're going to talk to him about the 200i versus the 10. Talk to him about some of the mapping, the app. So tune in. We're going to jump on a call right now. Chris, how's it going?
Hey, Bridger, it's going well. How are you doing?
Chris is our former Garmin rep, avid bird hunter, so it's always fun to talk bird dogs. It's one of those things, if you know, you know. All the Garmin Alpha stuff is GPS, not specifically unique to Garmin, but not a super common product out there. I know
Right.
I switched over about a little over a year ago, and I came from like a Dogtra,
Sure.
two dog system, and it
Yep.
took a little bit to kind of figure out kind of the odds and ends of everything. So that's kind
Yeah.
of what we
Yep.
want to provide people is maybe some, you've kind of watched the videos on the specs and whatnot and the differences, but we kind of want to bring you a perspective from a couple bird hunters on why they would choose what and how they actually use them in the field. My first question to you, Chris, would be, what's kind of your take on the 200 versus the 10? I know you have
Sure.
both. What would you recommend for somebody starting out?
It all comes down to what that what that upland hunter or what that houndsman has. I guess what their pack looks like. What I mean by pack is like what type of dog they're running. Are they running a pointer, a flusher, a treeing dog? So what kind of dog they're running, and then what type of terrain they're hunting in. I feel like the Garmin products, the 200, 200i, Alpha 10, all sort of fit GPS tracking wise, all kind of cover really well just all these different terrains that a guy is going to be cover or hunting in, whether they're in the woods or out in the prairies or in thick cattails looking for pheasants or up in the hills chasing chucker. I think it kind of covers a broad spectrum, and it goes back to like what's in your pack. And so if you're a guy, let's say out west, running big ranging pointing dogs, I would definitely recommend an Alpha 200 or 200i if you want to have that Inreach capabilities on hand. I know I use that quite a bit when I was out chucker hunting. Yeah, it depends on your pack. And so if you're out west running big ranging pointing dog, I definitely go with like the 200 or 200i. So that way you have that screen, you can see where your dogs are at. You can continually track and also have a visual of sort of what's going on if they've gone over this ridge or where they're where they're at, and having that visual on the screen and that big screen is definitely a plus. And then if you're running more than one dog, absolutely the 200 would be my go-to, just because it's very quick. When I run the 10, I guess, versus the 200, it's really nice looking at that 200 and having that quick view in that screen. I use the map actually quite a bit, looking at where my dog is. So again, if you're out west necessarily or running or traveling there and you're running big ranging pointing dogs, 200. If you're, let's say, in the Midwest or you're running in the grouse woods with a flushing dog or a close ranging pointing dog, I would actually go with the Alpha 10. I have a buddy who has a German wire hair pointer who ranges pretty close, and he was running with the Alpha 10 just because he can, it's very easy and quick to see where they're at. If they go on point, he doesn't necessarily need the larger screen to see how far, if they're going ranging out 150, 200, 400 yards. He doesn't necessarily need to have that screen. And so he was running the Alpha 10. And so, yeah, just short and simple. It depends on your pack, how many dogs you're running. If you're running more than a few dogs, I would definitely bump up into the 200. If you're running maybe one or two dogs, close ranging flushers, I'd go with the Alpha 10. Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I mean, there's definitely a big size difference to them, but like you said, I mean, the screen size is a big factor. And I do really love the Alpha 10, but like you said, switching between dogs isn't extremely quick. And
Yeah,
and
it takes a little bit.
yeah, and as far as I know, you only really have that the one button that kind of controls your stimulating modes. And
Yep.
so, that's what I've noticed from a training perspective, even though it's nice to have kind of the lightweight option, it's hard to sit there and, switch between a vibrate, a tone, a momentary type stimulation. It's not super quick.
That is one of the downsides, is the quick switching back and forth that I've noticed too. And and if you have your dog trained with a tone or a vibrate or a stim, it's kind of more, I'd say, cumbersome switching between those.
Yeah, and I find myself, if I'm going out for like a hike after work, just a runner or something like that, I mean, the 10 is great for that because and she's at a point where I really don't need to do much. I don't need to handle her much. So this is more just a peace of mind, if we jump some deer and she decides to go, off the rails, and, I'm able to, correct her or whatever, but I don't really need, the option to be able to switch between modes extremely quick.
Absolutely.
So there's kind of two different ways to kind of keep an eye on your dog as far as GPS goes.
Yeah.
There's the map, and then there's also the compass mode. So do you find yourself using the map more than the compass, or the compass more than the map?
Yeah, it's funny. It really all depends, I guess. I personally, I kind of flip between them a little bit. If I just really want a quick glance of like, hey, how far out is he? He's on point. How far out is he? Which direction? I'll use the compass.
Okay.
And then I even have it paired up to my watch. So that's another little step, is I can quickly look at the watch and see how far out Bo is my dog, and so how far out he is pointed wise. But then when I'm like, hey, I haven't really checked in for a little while. I need to see where he's at. Oh, he's 200 yards out. I'll go to the map, and then I'll kind of see where the map is and where he's at specifically, and which way I'm oriented. Because sometimes I'll be walking and he's kind of ranging out 100, 150 yards, 200 yards to the right, or to the left. And, I know which direction, but I don't know specifically like what type of terrain he's in, whether he's in a marsh or in the trees or where he's at. So I'll switch to the maps. And so I tend to use the compass a little bit more, but then I'll switch over to the maps if I really need to dial out where he's at and the sort of the where I'm hunting, the terrain that I'm hunting in.
And so I think with the 10, you only have the option of the compass, right?
Correct.
There's no map features.
You can actually connect it up to your Explorer app. I'm not sure if a lot of guys use that feature too much if they have the 200, just because they have it all there. But with the Alpha 10, you can actually connect it up to that Explorer app. And you can actually have a screen. And so you can pull it up on your iPad, you can pull it up on your iPhone, and you can actually have that screen and see where they're at. But when you're just rocking the device, it's the compass and the direction of the dog.
Gotcha. So that was a question I had for you. So you can pull up that Explore app and you can see the dog live at any time, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And same thing with your watch. Can you connect any Garmin watch?
I'm not sure on that. And, I don't think it's any Garmin watch. I know it probably has to be within like the Phoenix line or GPS enabled product line, but I'm not sure what specific watch you can. I know you can connect, like I have the Phoenix 7X, and so I can connect that to the Explorer and get like different activities uploaded on there and see exactly where I'm at.
I don't know if you have a similar experience to me. I feel like with the Garmin products coming from like a Doctra type product, I feel like I'm a better dog handler for one.
Yeah.
Like you said, you have the map or you have the compass, and what's cool about it is, you get the direction, but like you said, you get the yardage. Maybe your dog's out there, 150 yards, and I hit him with the vibrator, I call him, and I can actually see on the map. I think it updates like every 2 seconds or up, the yardage. I can see that dog's working its way back. So it's not like, I think for like the old days, it was like, you kind of have that timer, like my dog doesn't show up in 20 seconds, I'm going to shock it. And it's like, no, I can actually see that dog's making his way, or, you can see like you're tracking a bird, and it's kind of, it's determined, and you don't make mistakes, I guess, as a handler.
Yeah, no, it is a lot of fun, I guess, when you get into that mode of like knowing where your dog's at, what he's doing, and be able to watch it real time, whether they're tracking a bird or tracking something and running after it. But yeah, it goes back to that peace of mind of just being able to know where they're at and not necessarily have that in the back of my mind of, oh no, my dog's lost and I have no idea where it's at. When I was out chucker hunting, I would actually track Bo, my dog's miles, elevation, and then I can kind of replay back of where he's going on point of the covey of chucker and see exactly where elevation wise. I mean, I would really get kind of nerdy with it and figure out the elevation that they were located at in that certain terrain and track the miles and everything. And so you can dive really deep into the information with the app, and then also with the app and the devices Garmin has out right now.
From what I've only been playing around with the 10 for probably about a month. I don't feel like there's as much, you can't customize as much. Is that correct, or am I just missing something there? As far as like with the 200, you can customize all the buttons up top and kind of get.
You're exactly right. With the 200 and 200i, you can customize the screen where those apps are located on the screen. You can do a lot more customization on the 200 than you can on the 10. It's for those guys and gals that just kind of want to have that peace of mind of where their dog's at and have those basic functions.
Yeah, let's segue to some of the collars. So Garmin just came out with the TT15X, the X series. They had just the TT15 and the TT15 Mini. Those are mouthfuls. Yep. So what's kind of the differences between those, both, the X and also like the 5 versus the, 15?
Yeah, the TT15X, again, that was coming out sort of when I was transitioning. The battery life is the big benefit of that product. It's 80 hours of battery life. And then also I think you can put it in sleep mode remotely. So you can actually put the device to sleep. And a couple instances where you'd want to put the device to sleep is that if the battery's running low on power. Let's say you're halfway through the hunt and you notice that the battery power is going extremely low, you can put it into sleep mode to kind of conserve that battery life, because I have had instances of where I've been out and the battery life or the battery on one of my collars has died completely, and you're like, oh no, my dog is in hunt mode, he's ranging out 200, 400 yards. And I don't have that collar capability of tracking him. And so one of the big things with the TT15X is remotely putting that device to sleep. But besides that is the 80 hours battery life. Those are the two big things with the TT15X.
One of the other questions I would have is, so there's the 200 and the 200i. That 200 came out just before I bought this 200i. Sure. I was kind of debating that. Do I need the Inreach? Do I not? I mean, it's about $50. That's what you save by not getting the Inreach. What's kind of your thoughts there? I know you talked a little bit about it.
Yeah, so really, so I've been in an area where I've needed the Inreach quite a bit, and I had the unlimited plan because I was out chucker hunting out in remote areas. Cell phone signals existent in some and non-existent in others. And so I mentioned earlier that I even lost my phone one time when I was out hunting. I had to use the Inreach to text my wife and say, hey, I lost my phone. I don't have it. I'm okay. And so that Inreach feature is really comes in key for when you're going to those areas of being remote and out of cell phone signal and out of range, and being able to text and in for like emergency situations. And so that $50 adds that feature where the 200 kind of takes that away, but has all the features of what the Alpha product brings to it. And so now being located in the Midwest, I don't necessarily have a need for that Inreach feature. And so I've really just utilized all that the 200 has for the dog tracking and training capabilities, and haven't necessarily touched into the Inreach side of things. And so between those two, I'd really, it depends on if you're going to those remote areas, going to those areas where like, hey, I might need this because I don't necessarily, I want to be able to contact or reach out to someone using the satellite functionality.
And I think one thing to note is, I ended up going with the 200i. I haven't used it. You don't need to purchase a Inreach plan to actually, for the collar or the device to work itself. I think that's one thing. No, I have an Inreach Mini, which is, communication device that Garmin offers. And so I typically just have the plan on that, just because I big game hunt. I think that's something to consider. Like, are you going to be using this for multiple things? I don't really want to pack this with me, on my mule deer hunt. I just don't need it. So I typically just bring my Inreach Mini along as well when I go, on those chucker hunts, like you said, with limited service. Like you said, it's just, take in consideration what you're going to be doing. If you think maybe there's a possibility, it might be worth, spending that extra $50 and getting the 200i. I guess the last question I'd probably have for you, Chris, would be, is there any tips from a guy that's been using these, a long time that you would recommend? That's something I've wondered. Am I using this to its full potential? Is there anything, you would recommend to a new user that they should probably look into?
Yeah, for a new user, and you touched on, like, am I using it to its full potential? Like, it's a device that has unlimited, not unlimited, I guess, but it has, just all these capabilities and functionalities and features, along with like the watches that Garmin manufactures and makes. And so it has all those functions and features that you probably won't, that new users probably won't even need or touch on, but they are there in case you want to use them, in case you want to get into them. I think, you can have up to 250 dogs stored on the 200i. And so am I going to be in a situation, a scenario where I'm using 250 dogs or have to, work with 250 dogs? Probably not. But all that saying is that it has all that functionality and capabilities in the product. And so I don't think you're ever going to run into a scenario where like, oh shoot, I wish I would have, or I wish I would have, or I wish it would have this, or, I think you're going to be able to cover all those bases. And so a new user jumping into it, I think finding out the basic functions and features that you like, and then using those to their full potential is great.
I know houndsmen use, many more dogs, and it's definitely extremely important for them to be linked up with, their buddies' dogs. Typically they run a lot together. And, as an upland hunter, we still have that same option where, if we were hunting together, I believe I could put, your dog Bo in my device. So could I just view, could I just see where he's at, or can I actually control?
You can also control. So just a recent hunt that I went on, a buddy was using a basic collar that he trained his dog, non-GPS, and non-Garmin. And I actually had the Alpha 10 in an extra collar. So I run with 2 collars and then 2 devices usually, just in case one I've actually had where a battery has died, especially with how cold it gets here. And so I had to grab the Alpha 10 instead of my 200. But fortunately, I had everything charged up. And so he was just running a basic system. I was like, hey, Brian, why don't we, throw one of my collars on and I'll give you the Alpha 10. And then we can track and train and watch where each other's dogs are running. And so, it took all of 10 seconds to turn the device on. I changed the name of one of my collars to his dog's name, and they're already paired up because I use them. And so we were off and running. And so he was like, this is amazing. I'm enjoying the hunt so much more because I'm not worried that my dog is I can't find him, or he's messing things up, or just all those worries that run through your mind when you're hunting. He's like, I can see exactly where he's at. I can see that Theo is 50 yards over that way and Bo's up over there. So it's just it made the hunt a little bit more enjoyable, just having that peace of mind. And I think we've touched on that quite a bit, but it's a huge part of the hunt. I don't know how the guys did it, before GPS capabilities. I commend those guys. I just have so much respect for those guys when they just would, go out and their dog know where their dogs are at and what's going on. And because it would definitely be a little bit harder. I feel like just trying to get into birds. And so these products have been a great help.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of texture out here in Utah. It can be a little bit different than, hunting flats down in Kansas or whatever. And, I don't feel like I have to limit my dog's potential by, I can allow that, short hair to range as far as she wants to. And what the birds, command of her. And, as I'm coming over hill, I don't feel like I have to bring her back or whatnot. And I know I get notified when she's on point, or, if I'm looking at it and she was at 100 yards and all of a sudden she's at 200 yards, a cubby busted probably. And, I feel like I have that instant feedback, not just thinking like, oh, did a bunch of birds bust and that's why we're not seeing them. And, you can make those training corrections as needed. Chris, I appreciate you coming on. I mean, it's good to catch up and good to get some, feedback and some knowledge from somebody that's used these a lot. And, hopefully we can kind of help people make either a buying decision or just if they already have a device, be able to use it more efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the resources that BlackOvis has and, that the internet has, it provides. So when that new person gets a device and they don't know what to do, they can hop online and sort of figure out, sort of the basic things that are going to help suit their needs. So, but it was likewise, man, it was great to connect, great to touch base and be able to talk Garmin products and just how hunters use them and be able to just benefit our hunt even more.
All right, guys, there you have it. Thanks for tuning in. We hope that was helpful and you're able to learn something. I know I definitely did. Don't forget, we have all these products available on blackovis.com with free shipping. You can earn rewards points. And if you have any questions, please reach out. We got a full team of gear guides. They can answer anything that you might have. And heck, I'll even answer the phone if you need it. So thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.